As we continue our look into the sample parameters, again we're starting with a clean version of warping set. So if you have access to the project files, you want to go ahead and load that one in. And now let's take a look at the drums file here. And again, we want to make sure that the waveform icon is illuminated down here in the clip box. Now what we're going to look at next is the actual warp on-off switch. And notice as soon as we enable warp, we see many of the editing parameters open up for warp markers, playback, etc. Now with it off, what happens? Well, it just plays back. Let's listen. And I'll play another clip with it. They don't sync together in time. That's one of the main reasons we have the ability to warp things. So as soon as we turn on the warp, then we have access to all these other warp settings. And the first one is basically a guess at the tempo. Now this is a great clip to work with on this, because let's go to the drums and play it. Now it has guessed that the warp initial tempo was 60 when it really is 120. I'm going to go ahead and turn the loop on so we can hear this and set the loop to play normally and listen again. Now I'm going to come down here and say no, really the speed was twice as fast. That's like the multiplication sign by the number 2. Let's change that speed twice as fast and listen again. Now you notice that when we divide it by 2, it plays it back faster. Let's listen again. Now that's okay, that can be a special effect you want, but just know these two buttons are here to take the speed up by twice or down half if it misses. Again, below that we have the modes for the actual warp technique. And we've covered beats, tone, texture, and complex already. But let's touch on a few things now. In beats, notice it's asking for help in knowing transients. It's going to look for little bumps in the audio that are called transients at the beginning of a hit and a sound, and it's saying, should I look for transients every 8th note, every 16th note, whatever it may be. So listen to your audio and try to match this to that. So this does have 16ths, I'm leaving it there. After beats we have tones, and we have a simple grain size control here, that if it's not quite matching up when it's a tone file, adjust your grain size and see if the sound gets a little smoother, more accurate. After that we have texture for complex synth pads, and again you can have access over the actual grain size, but additionally the flux or a randomness into the sample to help make it more random and not so repetitive, thereby noticeable to the ear. Below that we have complex that we've talked about, but we have not talked about repitch. Now repitch technically does not use warping. This is the original way to speed up or slow down a file, like you've heard on a tape player or an early sampler or even on a record player. If you need it to go faster, it plays the whole thing faster and the pitch goes up. Let's listen. Here's the drums. Now the original tempo is 120, and this live set tempo up here in the left we can see is set to 100. So that means it has to slow this whole thing down and the pitch moves with it. Now this too can be a cool effect, but we've just lost the original color. Let's go back to beats and listen. So now as we change the song up and down, the original character is pretty much maintained. Let's do that again now and go back to repitch and playing and slowing down, click and hold. And that's a very cool effect also, but just bear in mind that you have to be in repitch mode to get that. This is particularly useful now that we can do tempo changes and meter changes inside Ableton Live. Okay, so we've got our different warp modes, our ability to set the initial tempo to match that of the sample or waveform we're using. If the Ableton Live guesses wrong, we can pull it down by half or up by 2, multiply it by 2, this tempo. And we have several modes for doing warping or simply repitching. Okay, going back to beats because this is a beat pattern. Okay, we're going to stop here, and next we're going to loop at the sample start, loop, and loop length.